Hey everyone, welcome back to my platform. Listen, I'm going to jump right on into the message. You know, yesterday, the Spirit of God was telling me what He wants me to talk about today during my lunch break. And He wants me to talk about how I flow in faith with Him and how I interact with Him for answered prayers. When I first came to learn about holiness and righteousness, like I had the Lord in my heart when I was little, but I did not know how to walk up right before Him. So in my early 20s, I learned how to walk up right before the Lord, what was expected of me, what kind of behaviors was expected from me to be okay with God, right? And it just didn't come from the pulpit. It came from God Himself. There were times where God was saying to me, nope, don't do that. I mean, He was telling me Himself. And so I made sure I got my little hind parts in line with the Lord and with the Word of the living God, because I hadn't been practicing living right up until, when I got to a certain age. I didn't know. Nobody was teaching me. So I'm going to start off by saying that. And so after the Lord started teaching me how He wanted me to live for Himself, He would, whenever I would pray to God and ask Him for help, I just learned early in my 20s, after I prayed and asked God for help, not to go help God solve the problem or come up with the solution. I always allow God to talk back to me through a vision or a dream or a download with instructions, so that I would do exactly what He wanted me to do. That's how I stay in the will of God. And I'm telling you, life is much peaceful, more peaceful, less stressful than trying to figure stuff out on your own. You know what I'm saying? I'll give you a couple examples. So after I graduated from nursing school, several years later went back to college, pursued my bachelor and master's degree, right? Ended up, completing my undergrad and graduate degree program. And then I updated my resume and I put it out there, on the job sites. And my prayer to God was, God, help me find a new position in the area where I just graduated from college. And so after I released that prayer, I'm waiting on God. I've done my part. I updated my resume, put it on out there. Now it's God's time, right? And it's God's part. So I get a phone call. Somebody saw my information, and I've been at the place of employment ever since then. I remember just getting my feet wet, wanting to only work, the short contract. That was fine for me, because that year I was actually taping a movie for God. So I was really, really busy that summer. So after I got my feet wet, worked a short contract, the manager at the time told me that she was going to call me back early for the next year to work on a longer contract and to be ready. And I said, okay. So I'm taping the movie, finished taping the movie, and after that, the Holy Spirit just put a vision in front of me. He told me to, in words, I can see God, He wrote it out. He said, I saw the letters in front of me. He told me to get in contact with my manager that I used to work with for that short contract and send her my updated resume. So I said, okay, God. So I got in contact with that manager, said, hey, I just wanted to send you my updated resume, which included the short contract that I did with her. And she said, okay, thank you. Next thing I know, when she called me in early, just like she said, she offered me a full-time contracting position. But that's how I flow with God. I'll give you another example. I asked God for a large amount of money when I was a single parent, and I didn't know how the money was going to come. I can't figure out stuff I don't know how to do. Like if I need a large amount of money and I don't have it, God show me how to get this large amount of money, take care of business. And so one day God told me to he gives me specific instructions. He said, get up and go to this church that you go to every now and then to worship me. I said, okay, God. Now, it wasn't my home church. It was a church that I would go to from time to time whenever I felt led in my spirit. But this time, God spoke directly in my spirit to get up and go to this church. Well, I got up. I was obedient. I didn't really want to go. I wanted to go to my home church because the power of God was just so strong. But God said, no, you go do what I said. So I went to this church. After the church service, a Caucasian lady walked up to me. She came from Canada. It was her first time going to this particular church. And she walked up to me and she asked me what my name was. She introduced herself to me, and then she took out her checkbook and wrote me out a large amount of money with a lot of zeros. It was a dollar amount that I was believing God for, that I asked him for. See, if I was disobedient and not doing exactly what God told me to do, I would have missed that blessing. But I've learned through the years, after I pray and ask God for help, I just wait for him to give me instructions. It's just as simple as that. God will talk to me in a vision, in a dream, in a download, in his voice. He mostly talks to me in downloads, visions, and dreams. Every now and then he'll speak to me audibly, but that's not all the time. Most of the time he talks to me through my giftings that he placed inside of me. So it's less stress trying to figure stuff out on your own. I don't even like to live like that, trying to, make something up to make it work. Because whenever God creates something for you to answer your prayer, it's so much greater than anything that you could possibly in your human mind think up and come up with. I mean, I'm just telling you, there was another time when I was a single parent, and God told me to go to my ATM and take out some money. I said, God, I don't have no money in that account. That's when I was a single parent. And honey, I had like maybe $2 in that darn bank account. I wasn't working or nothing. And I was just coming out of a bad, situation with a divorce and all of that. And I was pregnant. And he told me to go to my ATM machine. And I said, okay, ain't nothing up in there, but okay. Got in the car again, obeyed the Spirit of God, went to my ATM machine. And he told me how much money to take out. I took out the money. I was like, Lord, have mercy. Where did this money come from? And then he told me to get back in line and take another $100 out. Got back in line, took out another $100 out. I felt like Peter going fishing for the first fish, to pull out coins from the fish's mouth to pay taxes for Jesus and Peter. That's how I had a Peter experience. Of course, I asked the bank, what's going on with the money. I don't know where this money's coming from because I ain't had no money. I wasn't even working. I had no money. And so they said, it's all clear, Miss Banks. Just keep the money. So I remember that same day going to the mall to purchase. That's what I wanted the money for. I wanted to purchase church clothes for my children. And so I passed another ATM machine. God told me to take that money out and buy clothes for my children to go to church. I had money all that day. And then I went and got my children some clothes. God told me the money that was left, he wanted me to treat myself, get something to eat. So I got something to eat. And then the money that was left, he sent me to go pay a bill. Well, I didn't have the full amount for the bill, but I went in there and guess what? Through the computers, they said my bill was paid in full. I don't know where that money, to this day, I don't know who paid the bill, where all this money came from or nothing. But I have all these experiences with God, and you can too. God bless you.